Welcome to today's Global Connections program. I'm Bill Miller. What is one of the UN member states, Sao Tome and Principe, doing to help achieve some of the Millennium Development Goals, such as empowering women and promoting sustainable development? Also, what is the country doing to enhance a project, a very interesting project called the Humanicy Project? We'll be back in just a moment to talk about these and other important issues. Welcome back to our program. Today we're taking a look at a member state of the United Nations, Sao Tome and Principe, that's working on a variety of the UN Millennium Development Goals. My guest is going to bring us up to date on this very interesting country. My guest today is His Excellency Ambassador Angelo Antonio Toriello. Ambassador Toriello is a freelance investigative journalist, and he is a former Franciscan friar, but he's also a diplomat who currently serves as Ambassador, Deputy Permanent Representative of the mission of Sao Tome and Principe to the United Nations. Your Excellency, Ambassador Toriello, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. And yes, I think that I'm welcome.
You certainly are, and I appreciate you being with me. We're going to get into these issues, such as empowering women, sustainable development, Humanicy Project, and various ones like that. But let's talk a little bit about Sao Tome and Principe. That's not one of your major countries. You're located, I think, about 150 miles off the coast of West Africa and the Gulf of Guinea. How large is the country, and what are some of your major industries, just very briefly?
Yeah, there are just two islands. It's not really very large, very big, but population is around 200, 250,000. And the main industry in the time, it was cacao industry, but of course now it's been taken over from other kind of, let's say, activity, tourism, for example. And we hope that we are going to be one of the nations where we have oil, which has been discovered a long time back, and we are in a positive situation. Hopefully by the end of 2014, maybe there will be really some good development about it.
So there's a possibility there. It certainly
High
is.
possibility.
High possibility, very good. Well, let's talk about the UN Millennium Development Goals. Not all of them, but there were 8 development goals adopted in 2000 to reduce abject poverty by 50%, to empower women, to promote universal primary school education. Talk about a couple of them that you're focusing on. You're probably focusing on all 8, but what is Sao Tome and Principe doing to achieve some of these goals?
Yes, primarily is education and women empowerment. Education because, of course, no education, no information, and no information, of course, you don't have the right tools through which you can operate and properly. This is the main point. And of course, woman is something that is at the heart of all the nations. And above all, from the last few years, I would say, we have been more focusing on women empowerment. Why? Because it's an awareness that has just come up from the last few years, which is supposed to be something rather since long, because we know no woman, no good system.
Exactly. Women are the key in every society to
In
a large
fact.
degree. Now, have you gauged the progress made? Are you achieving the goals? Are you going to hit the mark by 2015, by December 31st, on empowering women and also promoting universal primary school education?
Yeah, of course, we are inclined to. I would say that as a small nation, we are doing our best, of course, to cooperate with all the other nations. We are focusing on it in order that we can contribute with our support or whatever we can do, though all the difficulties that we have internally, but we are inclined that we are, better, we are getting better and better, by the time to really be part of this global system to help those achievements.
Exactly. Now, goal number 7 was to promote sustainable development, and of course, inherent in that is combating climate change. Every country in the world, it seems, has been affected adversely to a large degree by climate change. How has your country been affected by climate change? Have you noticed very many changes occurring?
Of course, like every country, yes, there are changes. Maybe Sao Tome is a sort of protection because not being a big industrialist country. So let's say that is a little bit less affected. But yes, of course, there are differences you can see, of course, on the activity, the development of the country itself. Yes, we have to take care about it like every country, and we have to do our part. And of course, as a DPR, with of course my mission and the DPR and with the PR offices, we are trying to tackle the issue. I have involved external advisor in order that they can give us a better understanding, a scientific ground of the understanding to help.
Exactly. Now, you're a small island developing state, what they call a SID.
Yes.
And as I recall, 2014 was the International Year of Small Island
Yes.
Developing States. There was a conference in Samoa.
Oh.
You did not personally attend, but you had representatives
Yes.
there in attendance. What was the purpose of that conference, and what came out of it that we could focus on to help us really deal with this problem of climate change?
Yes, as so many other conferences has brought, of course, some information. I would say only information because we are at the stage of meetings and we have to take action. So each country, of course, has cooperate, giving some tips about it, how we have to go for it. But let me be sincere, nothing so concrete yet. We're still at the level of talking, trying to understand. I'm not saying that is something negative, but yes, we are far away from taking still really concrete actions. So I hope that we will convert this in concrete actions.
That would be very helpful. And of course, there will be an opportunity to do that the latter part of the year at the Lima conference, and then next year in Paris, which is really the major conference. What would you like to see come out of that? Do you have specific ideas? Do you think the countries should set a benchmark to reduce their carbon or take really concrete steps in order to try to at least slow down climate change?
See, the issue is vast. To say everything would take a lot of time. So let's focus. My concern as a human being, let's say, is really to focus on trying to find solutions that they are concrete more than debating alone, which is fair enough, which is good, but we should really take actions. Because all meetings, conferences, yes, they are fruitful, but not enough unless we don't translate them in practice. And beside only debating, we should really take action. And so I hope that the next few years coming, we will be a little bit more concrete as a diplomatic bodies. We should be a little bit more concrete.
Exactly. Now, before we move off the Millennium Development Goals, are there others I'm sure, like I said, you're dealing with the other 6.
Yeah.
Are there any others that you'd like to focus on before we start talking about other activities like the Humanicy Project? You're looking at reversing the AIDS epidemic, or you're looking at reducing poverty? How high is the poverty rate in Sao Tome and Principe? I'm not sure exactly. You're probably not a very poor country, are you? In comparison to a lot of others.
We are, as every country, there is of course difficulties, but we are, the government is tackling it very nicely. We are trying to cope up. Yes, we cannot say that there is no poverty, but we are not at that extreme, that put us really in a sort of alert situation. Difficult, in a difficult way, yes, but we are coping up with it.
And if you discover natural resources off the coast, that may help you overcome
a
large part of this to some degree. Well, it sounds like that you're involved in a variety of different activities. The 69th session of the General Assembly is underway. Are there certain committees that you're on that you're involved with, or what is your role in, not in the whole General Assembly, but what areas are you focusing on?
As I told you before, mainly we are on children education and women empowerment. Yeah, there are other issues that we take care, but mainly it is 2 aspects, because I told you education is the main portal through we can really evolve as a human species. Otherwise, where we go? There is no education, there is no understanding, so there is a lot of confusion. And in fact, if you see, up to now, if we have to be sincere, the model, the societal model on which we are basing on, which is the result? Facts talk by themselves. You can see we are in a sort of chaos. So we should take care as a development goal to make a little bit clarity in this system. We talk about so many things, but we are not taking really care about the problem, the really problem that is at the root. We keep peppering the crack over the walls, but we don't address the problem at the root.
What exactly now, as we look at this problem, how can we address it? What suggestions would you have to focus on that?
Yeah, I base myself on a small say. You cannot construct a solid castle on a sand, because ultimately it will collapse. So it's the same. I give this example to say that our system is similar. We have built a societal system based on what I say corrupt values. And that's why there is a chaos. And it is not me that I'm saying, they are the facts that they talk by themselves. You can see in which kind of situation we are. So if the facts speak by themselves, means that we have to take care. The old way of thinking, the old way of addressing to the problems, it has shown that it's not effective. So we should change this. So why we don't focus on this rather than to focus about any other things?
Well, you're watching Global Connections Television, which is an independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections are solely those of the moderator and his guest. Today we're taking a look at Sao Tome Principe and the role it's playing in working on some of the United Nations Millennium Development Goals, as well as the Humanicy Project. My guest is an expert on Sao Tome Principe. My guest is His Excellency Ambassador Angelo Antonio Toriello, who is the Deputy Permanent Representative of the mission of Sao Tome Principe to the United Nations. Your Excellency, we're talking about looking at problems and looking at them in a different way from the way we've done in the past. And you mentioned humans in there a couple of times, which leads me to the Humanicy Project. Tell our viewers, what is the Humanicy Project? When was it started? Why was it started? What are its goals?
I launched the Humanicy Project, which is a word coined by me, and is the fusion between humanity and diplomacy, so humanicy. The human side of the diplomacy, what I call the human side of the diplomacy. Why? It's nothing new. What I'm proposing is something that has already been done since dawn of history. It's just to remind us a little bit about our human side, which is forgotten. It doesn't seem so, yeah, but we forgot sometimes to be human, because the way that we behave, the way that we act, shows, in fact, that we forget to be human. So I'm just trying to launch this Humanicy Project that through the art to promote peace. So it's another way just to promote peace, awareness, nothing new, but I hope that it can really remind sometime about our human side. That is, in short, humanity.
I see. So you're bringing in the arts and the cultural aspects. Is this through music, through paintings, through perhaps poetry readings, a variety of different things such as that?
Yes, all arts. Because what is art? Connects us to our inner creativity. So when we are creative, we are more peaceful, we are more loving beings. So we express our humanity, what I call humanity. We forgot about so many other problems and difficulties. That's why art is a medium through which we can express our creativity, which connect us to God, or what we call God. That's why, for me, it's very important that through the art, we can express creativity. Creativity means peace. Peace with themselves, with ourselves, peace with the world. So start from inside to be expressed outside.
And as we look at all the turmoil in the world today, with the regional conflicts, with the Ebola virus and many other challenges, climate change in particular, we certainly need to focus inward and also to work cooperatively in this area. You were talking about, well, our viewers can Google Humanicy Project
Yes.
and learn much more about it, but you were also involved in Project Mystic Connection. And I mentioned earlier that you previously were a Franciscan friar with the
Yeah.
Catholic Church, and you went to India and you set up this project. What exactly was this project?
In 92 till 96, when I was Franciscan friar, with my group I exposed the pedophilia, priest involved in pedophilia. And because there was a reaction from the church side, I was diplomatically asked to go out of the country for some time, and I ended up in India. There, rather to wait the decision of the church, I started a project, in fact called Project Mystic Connection, which was a business project, just to give chance, possibility to underprivileged people like abused child, child prostitution, all these kind of difficulties that there were around the area where I started the project. And that I decided to call it Project Mystic Connection because according to me, business is one of the most deep, creative tools through which we can express our humanity. Though we are giving it a connotation of business, but it's not. For me, the business is a way to meet others. So meeting others means what? Meeting humans. For me, that is the best artistic project, tool.
Exactly. And you mentioned youth a couple of times, young people, and of course they're the leaders, our future leaders, and we certainly need to work with them. What are you doing in Sao Tome and Principe, and what are you doing with other programs to focus on youth, and with whom are you partnering to help train youth and to make them aware of the problems of today so they can find the solutions tomorrow?
Yes, I have a group around me that is focusing mainly, as I told you, in education. So we are trying to develop, of course, school. We are focusing on schools and to provide education with experts in different areas. And the first concern for us as education is to form leaders. Because if you form leaders in an appropriate manner, so maybe there will be a better government. So that's why I always say in my speech, governments has to embrace a more holistic vision of life. So I promote a lot that when we talk about formation, education, we should involve more, we should be more wide in terms of forming the people based on holistic program. Holistic education that is much more wider of what now we propose in the official schools. Because we are not made only by flesh, there is something else, and this is scientific. This is scientific, it's not something, abstract. Science today, through the quantum physics, is telling us that there is something else beyond the physicality. So we should learn about it. What is it? How human structure is made. Because if we know ourselves, then we can better serve. We can be better human being.
Exactly. Having worked with youth, having worked on a variety of projects, are you optimistic about the future? Do you think we have the players in place, or we're moving them in place to deal with these problems of the 21st century?
Yes, I am optimistic because I believe that it's part of our DNA. Though we create a lot of troubles, though we create a lot of really difficulty around, but I believe that in us there is this DNA that we would like to live. We want to have this experience of living our humanity, and I'm sure that we will find a way. Though the many difficulties, though our contradictions, this is another virus that most of the time I talk in my speech, contradiction. Because from one hand, we construct, from another, and we distract. So this is human tendency. And we have just to, fix this, try to understand how we can transform this contradiction, this contradictory factor that makes us, create, let's say, a little bit mess around.
Exactly. And you were talking about destruction. And last year you given several speeches at the United Nations, but last year you gave a very impassioned speech that our viewers could find on YouTube, I'm sure, about war and how it is so important for us to rethink how we deal with war. You mentioned it's no longer, we should look at it as a cultural event or a debate in some institution, whatever it might be. We have to take more responsibility and to change the way we look at that. What did you mean by that as far as how we can hopefully reduce conflict, be it in the Middle East or wherever in the world?
I was just saying that our system, governmental system, is based on speculative models. And until it will be like this, we will not move forward. I was meaning to say, yes, it's good to meet debating about wars, conferences, events. Anything is good, but it's not enough unless we don't take serious action and we translate those action in fact. I ask myself, we have the power to do so many things, but why we are not able to generate peace? If we want it, we can generate peace. So why there is always this contradiction? From one side we talk about war, and from another side we create the base for the war, because we are basing our governmental system on speculative models. It is just about game of power. Money. This is what we propose most of the time to the society. So how we can prosper, how we can evolve if we are always involved on those negative kind of activity. So I say, if we are able to go on the moon and Mars, why we are not able to stop the war? Which is the sense to invest so much money in armament when we have starvation? People, they are dying every day. I don't know if you understand, which is my point. Contradiction.
Yes, sure.
So that's why I talk always about contradiction, which is something, it seems something stupid is not. We have to really understand why we are contradictory all the time. If you don't take care of this, what I call virus, we are going to do always the same mistake. From one end we construct and then we destroy. So which is the sense?
I see. Now, this is the hardest question probably in the last minute and a half we have. Do you look at our society, you're talking about the values and how we need to reorient ourselves to our values. Do you look at this vast inequality, this chasm between a very small number of rich people in a large number of countries, especially the United States now, 1 to 2% of the population? Do you see this chasm, this financial gap, as being part of one of the problems we need to look at and change the way we view this?
Again, I will repeat the same thing. If we don't look at the societal system that we have created, the model on which we are basing our value, which are corrupted, we cannot go forward, we cannot develop, we cannot grow, we cannot evolve, because it's only based on a model of speculation, exploitation. Until that, of course, there will be always a huge difference. There will be, let's say, a model which will always override another model. There will be lobbies in power that we try always to keep the system poor, because it is a way that they can get rich by speculation. If we don't really take care about this aspect, we don't go anywhere. It will be always the same game. So allow me to say that I repeat myself, but again, we have to be open to a more holistic vision of life and not just a vision of interest. We don't go far.
As we reorient ourselves and look at our problems differently in the future, hopefully, what do you see as the number one issue that would be dealt with by the United Nations? And we will have to just hold that to the next show. I've just been informed, but Ambassador Toriello from Sao Tome and Principe, I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting and very informative program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us on today's Global Connections program.